Bruno Guimaraes. A big topic for the next days and weeks is going to be on Bruno Guimaraes, because Bruno Guimaraes wants to go to Arsenal. Bruno Guimaraes will not create problems to Newcastle. So Bruno will not break the relationship with Newcastle as a club, as directors, as coach Eddie Howe, with the fans. Not at all. But Bruno wants to go to Arsenal. He made that clear. Now, Arsenal and Newcastle are in contact to try understand which kind of number can help reach an agreement. Newcastle didn't want to sell Bruno, but the player wants to go, and so there could be a solution. Again, my understanding is the following: £55 million opening bid rejected, £65 million second bid suggested by the agents of the player was still not enough, so not a bid in paper, the second, but just suggested, not enough. Now the understanding is that Newcastle could open doors around £90 million. So this could be the number, but Arsenal are not bidding £90 million now. So the negotiation is going to be between £65 million and £90 million. What Arsenal were prepared to spend to what Newcastle want to receive for Bruno. So the negotiation will now enter crucial stages. I expect Arsenal to bid very soon again for Bruno Guimaraes. He's the top target. He's the player wanted by Mikel Arteta in midfield. He's a player who's been historically linked with Arsenal because Arteta is a big fan of the boy and
Hello and welcome back again to Arsenal Talk Vault, your home for the deepest dive into every rumor, every whisper, and every genuine breakthrough coming out of the Emirates this summer. If you're new here, this is the channel where we don't just repeat the headline, we unpack the layers behind it, the contracts, the release clauses, the boardroom politics, and what it actually means for Mikel Arteta's plans. If that sounds like your kind of channel, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell, because today's story might be the biggest one of the entire window, because right now, Arsenal fans, we need to talk about Bruno Guimaraes. The bombshell for weeks this has simmered in the background. Today, it's front and center. Multiple well-sourced outlets, Sky Sports, The Athletic, Football.London, and Football 365 are all now saying essentially the same thing. Newcastle's captain has told his own club that he wants out, and Arsenal is the destination. This isn't some throwaway tabloid line. This is Bruno Guimaraes himself putting it in writing, or at least in conversation, to Eddie Howe and the Newcastle hierarchy. The message is simple. After Brazil's exit from the World Cup, his head is now fully on his club future, and that future, in his eyes, is in North London. Think about what that means. This isn't Arsenal simply circling a name on a shortlist. This is the player pulling the trigger himself. How we got here. Let's rewind slightly because this story didn't start this week. Arsenal have quietly admired Guimaraes for years, going all the way back to his League One days at Lyon. Andrea Berta and Mikel Arteta have both identified him as exactly the kind of ball-progressing, tempo-setting midfielder this squad is missing next to Declan Rice. Earlier in the window, Arsenal tested the water with an offer in the region of £55 million. Newcastle didn't blink. That bid was knocked back without much hesitation. At that point, most pundits filed the story under admiration, not reality, given how central Guimaraes is to everything Newcastle tried to do. But then the World Cup happened. Brazil went out earlier than expected. And suddenly, the noise around Guimaraes changed tone entirely. Reports now suggest Arsenal are readying an improved offer, with figures being floated up to £60 million. And some outlets even suggesting the Gunners could push their final number as high as £72 million if Newcastle continue to hold firm. There's also chatter that personal terms, wages, length of contract, the boring but crucial stuff, have already been broadly agreed between Guimaraes' camp and Arsenal. What there has not been yet, according to the most reliable reporting, is direct club-to-club contact. Arsenal are said to be exploring the framework of a deal through intermediaries first, testing whether Newcastle's stance might soften rather than firing in a formal bid that gets rejected on principle. Newcastle's position, and why this is delicate. Now here's where it gets complicated for Newcastle. and honestly, where a lot of the drama in this saga is going to come from over the next few weeks. This summer has already been brutal for Eddie Howe's rebuild. Newcastle have already lost Sandro Tonali and Anthony Gordon. Those two exits alone brought in a combined figure north of £160 million, which, from a pure financial sustainability standpoint, has been useful. But losing your captain, your heartbeat, the man who dictates the rhythm of your entire team, on top of that, that's a different kind of pain. Newcastle fans will remember exactly how the Alexander Isak situation played out last summer. The striker effectively withdrawing his labor, refusing to train with the group, forcing a move to Liverpool that eventually happened for a fee touching £130 million. It scarred the club. It also, arguably, contributed to a disappointing league campaign that saw Newcastle finish down in 12th. So the question being asked across the football media right now is blunt. Does Bruno Guimaraes go down the same road? Does he apply pressure, publicly or privately, to force Newcastle's hand the way Isak did? Some reporting has floated exactly that scenario. Officially, Newcastle are saying nothing. No comment on the situation, no confirmation of contact from Arsenal. But silence in transfer windows rarely means nothing is happening. Arteta's dilemma. Why this matters so much. Let's talk about why Arsenal actually need this deal. Beyond simply, he's a good player, Arsenal are coming off a season where they won the league and reached a Champions League final. That's the context that matters here. This isn't a squad being patched up. This is a squad being sharpened for genuine, sustained dominance. Arteta doesn't want a season where his midfield engine room runs out of legs in the final stretch. Martin Zubimendi, for all his quality, looked visibly fatigued as last season wore on. Declan Rice has been immense, but no midfield partnership can survive on one man carrying the physical and tactical load. Arsenal need a body in there who can win the ball high, drive forward with it, and change the tempo of a game in a way this current pairing sometimes can't. That is precisely the profile Guimaraes offers. Ball-carrying, press-resistant, aggressive out of possession, and, crucially, a leader. He captains Newcastle. He'd walk into most midfields in world football as one of the first names on the sheet. So for Arteta, the dilemma isn't, is he good enough? It's, how far do we push? And how long are we willing to wait? For a player Newcastle desperately don't want to lose. The B plan nobody's talking about enough. Barcola now. Here's where this story connects to something else entirely. And it's where trusted transfer voice Fabrizio Romano comes into the picture. While all this midfield drama plays out, Arsenal are simultaneously working the wings. Their number one target there has been Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers, but Villa have set an eye-watering asking price, reportedly around £130 million. And that's given Arsenal and Arteta specifically a genuine headache. According to Romano, Arsenal's priority order on the flank has been clear for a while. Rogers is the first choice, but PSG's Bradley Barcola sits right behind him as the alternative. And the financial logic of that pivot is obvious. Reports suggest Barcola could be available for something in the region of £77 million, dramatically cheaper than the Rogers valuation. Romano has also indicated that Barcola's situation at PSG is genuinely fluid. His contract talks in Paris have stalled. He isn't considered untouchable. And while PSG will demand serious money for him, there's a real sense growing that this could be the summer he moves. Liverpool are also heavily in that race, which adds another layer of competition Arsenal will need to navigate. Here's the interesting part for Arsenal fans specifically. If Villa refuse to budge on Rogers' price tag, Barcola becomes more than a backup. He becomes the pragmatic, value-driven solution. And crucially, going the cheaper route on the wing frees up more of the transfer budget for exactly the kind of statement bid Newcastle would need to see to even consider letting Guimaraes go. That's why these two storylines aren't separate at all. They're connected by the same spreadsheet in Andrea Berta's office. Every million saved on a winger is a million that can be thrown at St. James Park. What Arsenal need to get right, so where does this actually leave Arsenal heading into the next few weeks? First, patience without passivity. Newcastle have shown they won't be bullied into a cut-price deal, but they've also shown through the Isak saga that their resolve isn't infinite once a player makes his intentions crystal clear. Second, financial planning across multiple deals at once. Guimaraes, Rodgers, or Barcola, plus whatever business is still to be done at right back and potentially in front of goal. Arsenal are trying to solve several puzzles simultaneously, and the order in which those dominoes fall matters enormously. Third, and maybe most importantly, Arteta needs to manage the emotional side of this. A player like Guimaraes going public, even indirectly, with a desire to leave, creates internal pressure at Newcastle that can either speed a deal up or cause it to drag out into a genuinely toxic situation, the way we've seen at other clubs in recent windows. Where we stand right now, let's summarize exactly where the facts sit. Without the speculation on top, Bruno Guimaraes has communicated to Newcastle that he wants to leave and join Arsenal. Arsenal have already had one bid, around £55 million, rejected. Reports now suggest Arsenal are preparing offers in the £60 million range, with some suggesting a final push could stretch towards £72 million. There has reportedly been no direct club-to-club contact yet, though intermediaries have explored the framework of a deal. Newcastle's official stance remains that they are not entertaining bids for their captain. Separately, Arsenal continue to work the winger market, with Morgan Rodgers as priority one and Bradley Barcola as a credible, cheaper alternative if Villa won't move on price. Nothing here is confirmed, done, or signed. This is very much a live, moving situation, but the direction of travel is unmistakable. Arsenal want Guimaraes. Guimaraes wants Arsenal. The only obstacle left standing is Newcastle's resolve, and history tells us that resolve has a habit of cracking once a top player makes his feelings this clear. That's everything we know right now on the Guimaraes situation and how it ties into Arsenal's wider summer strategy.